Hey guys, Chase here, and today we are picking up where we left off at months 4, 5, and 6 in business. Like I mentioned before, I'm about 10 months into business currently. I'm working backwards, moving forward to present day, trying to get you guys caught up with just what I've done so far, the progress I've made, and the lessons I've learned. So starting month 4, 5, and 6, to recap, the previous episode went from about zero to about $8,000 in gross revenue my first 3 months, slowly growing each month, and months 4, 5, and 6 are similar in that regard. A little bit different, I'll mention that in a minute, but again, steady growth for the most part, moving into that halfway point of the year. To sum up, the lessons learned, which I'll dive into a little bit further, is just relentless focus and reinvestment into the business. And I'll touch on both of those here in just a minute. In a cumulative gross revenue perspective, about $30,000 in months 4, 5, and 6. The breakdown goes about 10 grand in month 4, about 13 grand in month 5, and dipping back down to 7 grand in month 6. So there was a drop off come August. I think it's important to recognize, not every single month is going to continually grow month after month. There's going to be down months, there's going to be down seasons. I think not getting wrapped up in the overall number, unless you're having a continual downward spiral, especially if you're new, months are going to fluctuate. Right, you're going to have 1 month that gets caught up from all the work you did the last 3 or 4 months, and so it's going to be really good. And then all that work's going to peter out, and the following month's going to be a little bit lower. So don't get wrapped up so much in the month-to-month numbers. This is a macro scale that we're looking at, right? When we're looking at a business, we're looking at 12-month timelines, 5-year timelines, 10-year timelines, and if you are doing the right things, you're going to see the incremental growth. Even the step downs are going to be helpful because it's going to allow you to pivot, readjust, and to keep growing from there. So I mentioned reinvestment into the business. What I mean by that, I think it's incredibly important as a potential new business owner, if you're looking to take a venture, is set some cash aside, because there's going to be slow months. There's going to be painful months when it comes to finances. It's going to stay painful for a while. I could attest to that. But setting a reserve account aside for you to help pay your bills on a monthly basis so you can pour what you earn from the business back into it, allowing it to grow quicker, is going to be incredibly helpful for you and your business. When it's all said and done, where a lot of business owners, new business owners in particular, I think struggle is because they don't have that reserve account. So they step into a business needing it to earn every single penny possible for themselves so they can just pay their bills and scrape by in the early months or the early years. But what happens is now you're operating in a kind of starvation type of mindset. When you're starving, you'll take anything, right? But if you know you have food waiting for you at home, right, you can hold off. So what I mean by that is you can hold off from taking that paycheck for a couple months and pour that back into marketing, or pour that back into figuring out your operating system or your client acquisition or whatever it might look like for you and your business. Being able to reinvest those early dollars compounds and allows your business to earning in month 12 what you otherwise would be earning in month 24 or 3 years into the business, because you compounded early. Just like any bank account and investments, which I'm not an investment guy, but all I know is that if you start investing earlier in your life, you got a whole lot more money at the back end versus if you start later in life. Same goes for your business. Invest early and reap the compounding effects of that earlier than later. And then another tip, that I mentioned in terms of, a lesson I learned is just relentless focus. Just I think it's okay to allow your new business to take over your mind, in the sense that you think about it 24/7, right? It's now your livelihood. It's now really your life, right? And your life depends on this business, so to speak. So getting fully entrenched into it, going all in, spending your waking hours thinking about how you can get better at it, grow, learn more, make the connections you need to make. I think it's okay to allow yourself to do that. There's a work-life balance, mantra out there that I think is detrimental to a lot of early stage business owners, because we think that it's going to be everything we wanted in terms of the flexibility and the freedom, which I love the ability to set my own schedule. But I'm still a slave to my work, because I have to get it to a point where it produces enough to provide for my family and provide for those who I eventually employ, and create a lifestyle that's comfortable, right? So, and you're really a slave up until that point to your business, because that's what you're fighting for. So it's very stressful. I'd argue it's way more stressful than just working a W-2 job. But if you maintain that relentless focus about getting better every day, and just staying aggressive and very intentional with your actions, then I think you could find yourself hitting that success far quicker than what you otherwise would trying to manage that work-life type of balance. And, to touch on that, I know I mentioned, a lot of this channel is about also being a father, also being a husband. And that's a real challenge for us as men. If we're going to go put our neck out on the line, take a leap of faith for our family in terms of, hey, we're going to start this business. It's going to make waves for us. It's going to be what we need in our lives. There's a lot of downsides to it too, right? I mentioned this last episode. I was working, and I still am really working, 12 plus hour days, just about every single day. It doesn't really stop. And that's not easy. That's not easy on your marriage. I'm sure that's not easy if you have kids. I have a 2-month-old now. It's not easy being away from home. You're away from your wife, you're away from your kids. You want to be with them, but you want to provide for them. And it's an eternal battle back and forth that you have to figure out and find what you're comfortable with. And like I said last episode, having the support of your wife is like the game changer. It changes your whole perspective on how you can operate, knowing that your wife is backing you. So I'm not telling you to go tell your wife to back you. I'm saying that that's a conversation to have preemptively before even getting into business to begin with. So if I could sum up this whole episode into a single sentence, it would be reinvest into your business, build up a reserve, and don't chase the paycheck today at the expense of tomorrow.